I'm Josh Christensen, and this is Most Innovative Companies. Today, I'm introing this a little different because we have a very special guest co-host. It's Sarah Whittle.
Hi, I'm Sarah Whittle.
Sarah, you may know from Smosh. You may also know her work from her time running social at Crocs and Duolingo. Is just an all-around amazing human being, an amazing, super talented social creator
Keep going,
mind.
don't stop.
You're amazing. You're so cool. I met you last fall at, was it Adweek that I met you at?
I think it was Adweek.
Yeah.
And you were running a Smosh panel, and I just attended.
Yeah. And then we got lunch and you know.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. So I'm super happy to have you here and joining us for this episode.
I'm so excited to be here.
On today's episode, Fast Company contributor Lilly Smith.
Denim trends tend to have longer staying power than your typical other trends.
Sarah and I talk about lessons she's learned from her career in social media.
I just have always loved to tell stories. And the reason why I love working in social media is you get that immediate feedback.
And as always, keeping tabs.
I think it's just with the rise of social media, I've even noticed this with like the Bachelor franchise, it just turns into like an influencer factory.
But first, here's the download. The news you need to know this week in the world of business and innovation. We are in the third week of the war in Iran and continue to see just how much of an influence Tehran has over the global economy. The Dow is down roughly 5% since the start of the conflict. Then, the price of oil has fluctuated but remains over $100 a barrel. Diesel topped $5 a gallon on Tuesday. As long as the Strait of Hormuz remains essentially closed, energy prices will likely remain high. The war also played a role in yesterday's decision by the Fed to hold interest rates steady again instead of lowering rates. This is normally the point in the podcast where I'd make a joke about interest rates, Daddy Jerome Powell, but it just doesn't seem appropriate right now.
No. Over the weekend, FCC Chair Brendan Carr hinted that some broadcasters could lose their news licenses over their coverage of the war in Iran. Carr posted on X, quote, "Broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up." This follows Trump slamming news organizations for critical coverage of the war and dubbing them as highly unpatriotic.
Brendan Carr has to be one of the dumbest people that has ever held a position in government.
The definition of power trip.
Just an absolute rube. Anyways, I got to get out of this Iran storyline. Let's move on to something a little bit lighter, which is OpenAI and lawsuits. Encyclopedia Britannica is suing OpenAI. In the lawsuit, the Britannica Group, the organization behind Encyclopedia Britannica and the digital version of Merriam-Webster Dictionary, accuses OpenAI of using the information on their websites to train ChatGPT without permission and infringing on copyright. The lawsuit also says ChatGPT responses keep the internet user away from the actual publisher's websites, which strips these publishers of revenue. Encyclopedia Britannica is the latest publisher suing OpenAI over copyright infringement, joining a list that includes the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, and the CBC. I was trying to think of what a joke could be about evidence in the trial being ChatGPT queries for best mans at weddings, asking them to write a speech and starting everything with
the definition of love.
The Webster's Dictionary definition of love is.
I mean, I think this is a perfect story of not surprised. This is what was going to happen when you have something like a ChatGPT grabbing information from everywhere.
Well, I mean, in November 2022, when ChatGPT launched and these LLMs started really to proliferate, like the whole reason why they were able to do this and get so as good as they did as quickly is because they basically were fed the entire internet without permission, and no one really knew how to deal with it. Like, constantly, this just reminds me of the dot-com boom over and over again because it's just so new that we're unable to really differentiate what's the novelty, what's the main things we should worry about, and also just like how we should set rules about all of this stuff.
I mean, and lawsuits are the way to get some of this more transparent and through to the public. Like right now with the trial about Meta and Instagram being purposefully addictive. That is a faster way to get regulations around it than trying to go through our lawmakers who probably can't even log into their Facebook page.
That is true. I'll always say it. Maybe we should just drop in the sound here of Orrin Hatch asking Mark Zuckerberg how Facebook makes money, and he's just like blankly says we sell ads. And it's like, you were a senator. Like, it makes no sense. Also, I forget the senator's name or it might have been a congressman. Have you heard this quote where he's like, as we all know, the internet is a series of tubes.
Oh, yeah. I did.
You remember
this? Such deep in my brain.
It's real deep in there, but it's the funniest thing in the world.
Well, we all know the algorithm was named after Al Gore, who invented the internet.
Yep. He had Al Gore. I think just Al Gore with a little bit of like
his
Gloria
rhythm,
Estefan.
a little shimmy. He's like, you want cat videos? You want AI bananas? What do you want?
God. All right.
On Monday, meatpackers in Colorado went on strike for the first time in over 4 decades. Around 3,800 workers, represented by the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 7, began striking at Swift Beef Co. plant, which is owned by JBS USA, a subsidiary of the largest meatpacking company in the world. The union has been negotiating the new contract with the company for the last 9 months. The old contract just expired last Sunday. Major issues in the negotiations involve dangerous working conditions, reduced hours, and insufficient wage increases. Meatpacking is considered one of the more dangerous jobs in the country, yet labor disputes are rare because most companies employ workers from vulnerable communities, like refugees or undocumented immigrants.
And finally, Kraft Heinz is going to have high-protein mac and cheese.
Yummy.
The new product line called Power Mac is going to be launched in April and will have 17 grams of protein and 6 grams of fiber. Because you got to get swole and you got to poop. The company has struggled in recent years and is currently trying to right the ship with a new CEO. I'm sure they're hoping this protein mac and cheese will help them bulk up their profits.
Very good.
That was good.
Very good.
You know what I've always said? We need more swole children.
Yeah, maybe they're going for the Gen Z looks maxing crowd with this mac and cheese line.
Yeah, it's wild. Also, as a quick plug for ourselves, we had Diana Frost from Kraft Heinz on the show a few months ago. This was when she was talking about why they were splitting Kraft Heinz, which is no longer happening anymore. They're staying Kraft and Heinz.
They're not
no longer
divorcing.
Kraft and separate Heinz.
Can't divorce the cheese and the ketchup.
No, you can't. The ketchup stays right here. Anyways, that's the news you need to know today. So, Sarah, what is the first social media platform you were ever on?
Ooh, that's going to age me.
Yeah, this is what we're trying to do here.
I'm very proud of my age. The first social media platform I was on was Zanga. Would you count that?
Yeah.
That was the
I think that
blogging
counts.
site.
Yeah.
Xanga.
Yeah.
And I remember the first photo I ever published of myself online. I was wearing a Hello Kitty beanie.
Hell yeah.
And I was like really nervous about it. And then, after that, I went to MySpace and I got to customize the HTML, learning code at like 14 or whatever, and had the top 8, which I think we should bring the top 8 back.
Oh, nothing gave me more anxiety than the top 8 in high school. And whose other top 8s you were? I mean, do you want to just like supercharge bullying in high school? Bring back the top 8 on social media platforms.
Yeah, that was like pre-Mean Girls before Mean Girls. It's like, who do I include? Which friends? Which friend groups? Like, It was really hot.
Well, it was also really a top 7 because you had to have Tom in there.
Oh, yeah. Tom was friends with everyone.
Yeah. I wonder what Tom's doing right now.
Oh, I know what he's doing. So he sold
doing?
MySpace for like whatever $1 billion.
Yeah.
He's like in the woods now. He's completely off the grid
That's
and
great.
just like living his best life and honestly goals.
Yeah. I would love to build a tech platform and sell it for a lot of money and then live a rich off-the-grid lifestyle. That'd be
I
great.
really love that he dipped out. And then
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake bought MySpace forever ago, and that was just the end. It ended that moment.
Well, I remember MySpace went from the social media platform. Obviously, Facebook sort of took over. And then MySpace was really big amongst bands and musicians. It was big
MySpace,
music pages,
yeah.
MySpace in particular. And then I think that's just kind of gone to SoundCloud.
Yeah, I guess so. I have no idea about the music industry.
Yeah.
Chronically online, I've always been even in my MySpace days, I was such a follower with music.
Yeah, I've never been a huge, I always just follow my siblings and what they listen to on music. I don't know things at all. I was hanging out with some people at South by Southwest over the weekend. They were talking about the bands they were seeing. And I was just yeah.
I know. It just sounds
cool.
It just sounds like random words put together, Mad Libs.
This new wave ska band that you're really into sounds great, man. I love that. I listen to podcasts mostly.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this new band called Up First from NPR?
And I'm have you ever heard of Huntrix from K-pop Demon Hunters? That's who I'm listening to.
Well, we're talking about this because later in today's episode, I'm going to get your top 5 lessons from your career in social media. But first, at risk of sparking millennial PTSD, ultra low-rise jeans are officially back. Over the past few years, we've seen this early aughts fashion creep back into culture. Celebrities like Margot Robbie and Zoe Kravitz have been seen wearing low-rise jeans. Fashion content creators are pushing the style. And just normie Gen Zers can be seen walking the streets in these jeans with a very distinct Y2K handbag because they can't have anything of their own. They have to steal our culture. My culture is not your costume. This is not just vibes either. Our guest today brought cold, hard data. Lilly Smith, who is a writer and an associate editor on Fast Company's design team, has dove deep into the comeback of the polarizing low-rise jeans. She talked to Sarah and I about what she found.
Little zippers.
Hey, Lilly, welcome back to the show.
Hi, I'm glad to be back.
So I certainly know a ton about fashion, but I won't have to explain everything. And you'll be our expert in this segment. I'll let you handle the fashion talk. But before we jump into your story, I want to ask both of you, what's your go-to jean cut?
Lilly, you can go first.
Okay, I was going to say I'll willingly go first on this since my story is about jeans. I hate to say this, but it has shifted to a low-rise jean since working on this story. I have been corrupted. Not ultra low-rise, which we'll talk a little bit about a little bit more, but it's more of a bit of a mid. It's entry level.
A mid
entry
low-rise.
level. Yeah.
I do not wear jeans. I am elastic pants supremacy gal. I need all my pants to have an elastic waistband and be super comfortable. So I do have a couple of jeans that have an elastic waistband, but I am not an OG denim girly.
I sort of fell out of jeans during the pandemic. I think a lot of people did. Hard pants weren't really a thing during the pandemic.
Hard shoes, yeah.
But no, I do wear jeans again. But I feel like I just have a classic millennial, not skinny jean, but slim.
Slim
cut.
fit. Okay.
I don't like a baggy thing. Also, I'm just a bigger guy. So if I have balloony type
it would
big
be a vibe.
cargo
I would love to
pants,
see
it'd
it.
be a lot. I'm 6'3", 225. I need to reduce my silhouette as much as possible because I can't take up so much space in the world. Well, let's get into your story as you alluded to and as we set up in the intro. Low-rise jeans are back for some reason. Why?
That's right. They're back. And I know many of us have mixed feelings about this. As I talked to my friends over the past 6 months, and, it was generally met with disappointment with this news. But it's really for 3 reasons. The first is this kind of recurrent interest in Y2K. So a lot of the Gen Z era and a bit younger celebrities that are coming into the fore now. So think Addison Rae, think Tate McRae, that kind of cohort are looking back to celebrities from that era, and their outfitting from that period really was centered around low-rise and that silhouette and everything that came with it. So they're pulling inspiration from that outfitting into the present. So that's one way we're seeing it. Another is really kind of an after effect of the baggy silhouettes that have become on trend over the past several years. So wide leg, baggier fits as they've become lower slung. That kind of has exposed the midriff a bit more, which has brought in low rise in that sense too, just from kind of like a fashion and design evolution standpoint. And then the third is really, it kind of dovetails with the Y2K, but street and celebrity styling. So a lot of the designers that I spoke with at big denim brands look to street styling as kind of their first and early indicators of silhouettes that are coming back. So over the past several years, that's something that they've been seeing more and more on the streets. And so they've been pulling that in as inspo for their designs too.
Can you talk a little bit more about like what your friends were saying about this? Like, can you dive into this? Because I feel like I feel like this is actually part of the appeal of it. I think something that is controversial is not the right word, but like polarizing is actually a big driving factor in a lot of fashion trends because it's conversation about the topic, right?
Yeah, definitely. And polarizing is, I think, one of the key words I used in this piece, if not in the headline, because there really are mixed reactions to its return. So a lot of my friends who I spoke with as I was reporting out this piece, like, you guys, low rise is back.
Yeah.
Like, how do we feel? And genuinely, it was kind of like the reaction of like, if you're kind of like soft launching like an ex you're talking to again, like, like healthy skepticism, like I'll hear you out, but, I have my own reservations. I may or may not share type of thing. But so, I mean, it really was some reservation about its return. And I'm a millennial. I'm 33. And so talking to people in my own cohort who have already gone through this once and who are kind of bringing in the associations from that first time around Y2K in terms of body image and kind of a centering on thinness as an ideal beauty standard and bringing those into the present with, the return of this style and how those two kind of dovetail together. So a lot of the initial reaction was like, why are we doing this again? I don't know. Like, is this the best? And so that is kind of like, it's new. I mean, low rise has been coming back over the past several years. Susie Draffin, who's a forecaster at WGSN I spoke with, told me that she first started tracking its return in 2019. But over the past years, when we started to really see it hit mass market, so in talking to my friends who might not be in fashion in the same way or follow it as closely, they're starting to see it kind of emerge now with some level of apprehension, which kind of, I think, also indicates that it's new to the market, at least among people who aren't super into it.
I mean, yeah, I'm a millennial and I wore mud jeans, the bell-bottom low-rise with stretch when I was in middle school and high school. And yeah, I think I initially have like a negative reaction. And so when I have to think about why, I think I just remember seeing a lot of thongs, a lot of whale tails come out of it because they were so low-rise and a lot of butt cracks. So I think that's my initial gut reaction is like, the low-rise can't handle my body, especially an older 30-year-old lady body. So I think that's why initially I'm like, no. I want my jeans to be as tall as possible or my pants to go as high as possible. Now that you're trying low-rise again, like, are you feeling like it's a different experience?
Yes and no. I mean, I think even when I was like in my teens trying it, I never went super low. I think that I, was not allowed to have the thong reveal when I was 13 or 14, since I wasn't even allowed to have like the sweatpants that said pink on the behind. So,
God, what a cursed era that was.
You guys, it was really rough. It was really rough.
Wait, so actually, can you just define what a low low-rise jean technically is? Like ultra low-rise, low-rise, mid-rise. What actually defines this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me kind of backtrack and define that anatomy for you, if you will. So a low-rise jean typically sits between, like, the lowest that I've seen is an inseam of 7.25 inches. So that's like basically goes up the seam that goes up the front of the pant to the button. So 7.25 is really like an ultra low. That's the lowest end. So picture that's going to be like your 2-inch zipper, your 2-button fly, like little itty bitty.
It's like classic Britney Spears,
the fastest zip-up pants in history.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I need at
blink
least
and it's
7.25 inches of zipper.
Yeah, exactly. The fly is so small.
So that's the style that Lucky Jeans put out last year with Addison Rae, which was their ultra low-rise boot cut. The more of a mid-rise is going to be 8 inches. So that's the one that Citizens of Humanity put out last year. So that is going to be for more of a mature set, I would say, which I include myself in. But it fits like a little bit more of a mid-rise. High-rise is going to be going up to the belly button, and that is like 11.25 inches. So, I mean, that's a 4-inch difference from ultra-low to high-rise. So, you know, it's a big coverage difference.
The science.
That's kind of the difference between rises there in terms of what's what.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny.
Well, let's talk about some data here. So obviously we've seen some celebrity trends. We've seen sort of amongst like the fashion crew. Is this just vibes, or is this actually permeating and driving revenue for some of these companies? Can you tell us how sales are going for brands?
Yeah, so the brands that I've spoken to really saw low rise as a big sales driver, especially over the past year. So I can run through some of those stats, and if it gets to be a little bit too much of a word salad, stop me. But so like year over year, Reformation, which is their biggest cohorts are Gen Z and millennial women, they saw that their sales of low-rise denim grew 500% year over year between 2024 and 2025. And that was a pretty even mix between millennials and Gen Z. So 30% of that was driven by millennials and 38% by Gen Z. At Citizens, we didn't have year-over-year sales data for that one, but 35% of its business is from low-slung fits. So that would be low-rise, that sort of thing. Both of them saw that 4 of their top 10 styles were low-rise. So nearly 50% of their top styles are low-rise, which is significant. So a lot of people are buying them. And then on top of that, at Lucky, which predominantly have customers in their 20s, they saw a 763% increase year over year in low-rise jean sales, which is just out of control.
That is like eye-popping numbers. Like that's as strong of a trend and like a hard left turn in style that I think I've seen. Although there was a really, do you remember the boot cut sort of craze when boot cut came out? And that maybe this was more of a men's fashion thing.
Yeah.
But I swear to God, like 100% of jean sales were boot cut at a certain point for men's jeans. And I was always like, what?
Yeah.
What is happening? Who's wearing boots?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really like this. I mean, I think with the baggy jeans and Jinko jeans coming back, it makes sense that the next one would be low rise and like a bell bottom thing. So I'm still rooting for my girl Mud. I want Mud jeans to make a comeback.
Yeah, where is Mud in all of this?
Apparently a few years ago they were about to come back, but then I think 2020 affected them in some way.
Let's talk a little bit more about design. Like, have we learned any lessons from the past, and are the designs better and the fits more comfortable and the silhouettes more inclusive of body type at all?
Yeah, so that was a point that a lot of the denim designers I spoke with really drove home in terms of difference between then and now, and reiterating my friends' apprehensions and concerns to them. Like, you know, this really just kind of dusts up a lot of baggage related to, sorry for the mixed metaphor, related to that period. And what's your answer to that? And so people who I spoke with, like Amy Williams, who's the CEO at Citizens of Humanity Group, told me that she really feels that today's aesthetics are, she said, quote, more sophisticated and cool to wear, something that sits a little bit away from the body. So she said that she sees low-rise iterated in a way as something that has a bit of ease and bagginess to it compared to during that period where it really was a painted-on style. So, it's skin tight. There's not much room for give. The waistbands often were designed in a V shape so that because they would sit so low on the hip, they had to have support so it wouldn't just fall off of you. So there's...
Yeah, the physics have never made sense for me on low-rise jeans.
Yeah. So there'd be a seam up the back of the waistband. It was put in two parts so that it could be skin tight, but also sit really low on the hip. Now that there's a bit more ease that's built into the style and they're just a tad higher rise, so a little bit more of a natural mid-rise, that has kind of gone away. So some of the solutions are a contoured waistband, which we saw at Gap, for instance, that is meant to kind of do away with the whale tailing of yesteryear, if you will. So, so when you sit down, it doesn't expose the wearer's underwear, that sort of thing. In terms of the actual design compared to high rise, which is our most recent style that's been on trend, designers have to make a few adjustments. Marion McDonald, who's the creative director at Citizens of Humanity, told me that they make a few kind of smaller adjustments so that the behind still looks proportionate, even though the overall canvas, let's say, has shrunk. So
Nice.
Thank you, guys. So what that means is that they've reduced the scale of the pocket, so it's a little bit smaller, in addition to the pocket scoops, which refers to kind of the shape of the pocket on the front of the pant. Those little pockets you can't put anything into.
You put a button in there and it's showing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like a little comfort pocket.
Yeah.
So the shape of that scoop has changed to be more proportionate as the waistline sits lower on the body. The pockets on the back, the distance between them has shifted a little bit to kind of give what McDonald called a really cute, I think she said, like a boyish bum shape.
Oh.
Which, I didn't know I wanted my bum to have that shape, but it's cute, I guess. So,
I feel like that's how we should categorize them, is how your butt looks in them. So like
I feel
apple bottom
incredibly
versus...
uncomfortable with the boyish.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
What I think she really meant is kind of a tomboyish look, just to clarify.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so they have to make those kinds of little design adjustments, just like any other designer would in any other kind of composition. So making those adjustments within the apparel world, that's some of the things that they did. So looseness, and adjusting of the proportions on the back, adjusting of the pocket sizes, and the waistband altogether to kind of give the modern contemporary version of low-rise a bit more ease and wearability for the person who's trying them out. And, hopefully to avoid the thong exposure should
But
you
honestly,
choose.
I think I've seen even this style, so maybe it'll become more popular. Maybe they'll just have a whale tail sewn in to make it look like it's peeking out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that we have seen kind of a knock-on effect of the return of low-rise in terms of accessories and outfitting beyond just the jean, because a lot of people use denim as like the foundation of their outfit. Once you change those proportions, so if you're lowering the waistline on your denim, that often will bring in lower shirts, or it will expose the thong, underwears, outerwear. I don't know. It seems to be happening this year.
Or belly button rings.
It has been
are those
stopped.
going to come back?
Probably.
Probably.
I saw mine. There. I mean, like the styling of like an exposed thong has been sort of a trend amongst like celebrities. Like I think you mentioned Tate McRae earlier. I think there was like a awards show look that she had that like featured that, and with some like jewelry like hanging off of the straps as well and stuff like that. So that's where we are.
A new place to put charms,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, charm everything.
Pandora bracelets are like, we have a new market. TAM is going up.
Well, Cat's Eye did do a partnership with Pandora, so this seems like
really?
a natural
Totally makes
evolution. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, my last question. We've talked a little bit about this before. It's not just Gen Z. It's not just the younger generation. It's millennials. So it seems like this has pretty wide adoption. Do you think this is going to be a splash in the pan trend, or do you think this has some staying power?
This is something that has staying power for better or for worse. I was talking with, I have to go back and find her name, but I was talking with someone from Still Here, which is a premium denim brand, really became known after Zoe Kravitz wore one of their styles last summer and had been selling out since. But they did a low-rise jean without a waistband at all, which is kind of a new thing. And it also is a really baggy fit. But what she was telling me is that denim trends tend to have longer staying power than your typical other trends. So high-rise, for instance, according to Amy Williams, who's the CEO at Citizens, really lasted for about 15 years. So that's part of the reason why low-rise is kind of entering the space right now. People are just ready for a new fashion conversation, for something new. So in that same sense, I would expect that low-rise will have staying power. You know, it's already been 6 years since it kind of started to just percolate. And so I think we'll be seeing it for a while, not dominating in the same way as it did in the 2000s as the only style you can wear, but just part of the overall mix that you can choose from in addition to, you know, mid and high rise and even like varying pant styles. So you don't have to have it painted on if you don't want to. There's, you know, boot cut is reemerging as part of 2000s. I hate to say it, but pant legs are getting skinnier, so look out for that. I know.
Good.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
See, if you just stay with the trend long enough, it comes back.
I know, yeah. You just keep it in your closet.
I'm
Technically,
timeless.
you're an early adopter right now. It's gone full circle. So I do expect that it will stick around for a while, especially since we're just starting to see it hit mass market as of, you know, fall 2025. So we'll see it for a little while longer yet, I would say, yeah.
We'll be back with Lilly for keeping tabs, but first a quick break, followed by my conversation with Sarah about lessons from her social media career. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different with this segment. We have Sarah Whittle here, and she is the brain behind billions of views on social media, on YouTube. She spent over a decade creating social strategy for huge names you've definitely heard of, largely probably because of her. Names like Smosh and Crocs and former MIC company Duolingo. It would be super dumb of us not to take advantage of this and ask her about what she's learned over the past 15 years working in social media. So that's what we're going to do. So if you are on social media or are looking to build a social media profile for yourself or for your brand and want to understand how it works, this episode is for you. So, Sarah, we've brought this concept to you of your 5 biggest lessons from your career in social media. But before we get to that, could you give our audience just a little bit of a rundown of your career and what kind of got you into this and you know, just your kind of big picture outlook on social media? Yeah,
that's a great and deep question.
Why do you do what you do?
Oh, that's even a deeper question. I've been like creating video content since I was 10 years old. I remember being a little kid on an Air Force base in Germany and being like, how can I make videos? And I made a Survivor parody. So I've always just loved creating content. I went to school for television production because back when I went to college, social media didn't really exist. And I quickly just gravitated to online media. I connected to the internet very early on. And so I did the TV to social media pipeline. And when I moved out to Los Angeles, got to work on the creator side with Smosh. I also was a host and writer for Clever TV, which was pop culture news. I also ran the Game Show Network YouTube channel for a little bit with now SNL cast member Jeremy Colhane 10 years ago.
Game Show Network YouTube page is wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then a few years ago, made the switch over to brand marketing. So I ran global organic social at Crocs for many years during the peak years. So if you bought a pair of Crocs from something you saw on social media from like 2021 to 2024, might have been me and my team's influence. And then recently was over at Duolingo. Now I'm doing the consulting lifestyle. But I just have always loved to tell stories. And the reason why I love working in social media is you get that immediate feedback. So the data nerd in me gets to look at all the data, and then the wackadoodle creative side of me gets to connect my ideas with the cool data. And so that's what's really been really fun for me in my career. And I'm also a little bit competitive. So those numbers look nice.
Okay, let's get into this. We're going to count this down. Well, I guess we can go 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. We didn't order these.
I didn't rank them in any order.
So let's start with number 1. This is your first lesson from 15 years in social media.
Yeah, media is a constant game of yes and I am also an improv comedy dork, and yes and has really been a way of life for me, but also really influential in how I look at my career, but also how I look at each piece of content. So media is constantly changing. Social media is constantly changing. I say social media is like a river. It's never the same twice in one spot. And so you really have to navigate those rapids of a changing industry, whether it be your skill set, you yes and your skill set, you yes and opportunities, you yes and a piece of content that does well or does bad. So it's constantly about yes anding and kind of like adding more to the narrative. And look, we're going to post until forever. So you just got to constantly yes and yourself. What I've done in my career is I've been really smart with my luck. So luck is lucky, but it's really about being able to take the situation at play and being able to yes and on top of that.
So when you're working on, your own social media page or from the creator side, I think a lot of what creators do is they sort of find something that does really well and then they replicate and they replicate and they replicate. When you're at a brand like Duolingo or Crocs, you have much different objectives. You have new product lines that come out, new initiatives, new goals, new campaigns, which doesn't always necessarily jive with maximizing your reach with, especially I'm thinking of TikTok and what kind of that algorithm rewards. Yeah. How do you balance that?
Well, I still think it's the same skill set. You're yes-anding. So let's say I think when you go viral and then you just keep replicating that and evolving that, that's pretty obvious. For a brand like Crocs, you look at what works or even what the community is talking about and yes-and on top of that. Because yes-and is really about, if this is true, what else is true? So a thing that people believe is that Crocs are ugly. Well, if that's true, what else is true? And what else like fun narrative and storytelling can we do around that to like get people's attention and play with that tension?
Do you have any examples of like a brand or someone you've seen who may have not taken that sort of yes and approach to their detriment?
Just recently, the PetSmart viral moment. I think that was an opportunity where PetSmart, it sounds weird when I say it out loud now, but they could have had a real fun, playful opportunity with it. And instead on their socials, they went with more of like a period approach of like, it is PetSmart, period. And that didn't really, it didn't need an answer. It didn't need an answer.
Yeah.
And to me, too, you could have found like, okay, if this is true, what else is true? There's two sides to it. What's another debate that's age old? Cats versus dogs. So could a cat take in one side and a dog take in another side and it kind of be this fun rivalry?
Yeah, you can see like the Twix commercial type approach, the left and the right Twix, and sort of like diving into that and building on a campaign.
Didn't they do a thing of like, how do you eat it, the center first or bite it? So like there's always something to play around with and yes and with instead of just ending the conversation. Like play, have fun.
Yeah. I think there's so many brands that have done such a good job of like leaning into that. I always like what Liquid Death has done with their campaigns. Yeah. Like they've really picked up on it's water. Like they're literally marketing water and like tea and some other stuff. And that's literally kind of what they've embraced is like, we're just water.
Yeah.
So that could either be a super boring campaign and approach to brand strategy, or it's a blank canvas.
Exactly.
And we can sort of go and listen to our audience and cultivate like this sort of following and build and yes and on like what we've done in the past.
Yeah, and this is my reasoning for everyone to take an improv class, not even if you're not in media, but especially if you're in media. Like comedy is and storytelling is a form of art that has some philosophies that can really build you up for success. And taking an improv class, Improv 101, that stuff is so fun. And the people in the class, it's a character study. So I will always push, take an improv class to learn some of these fundamentals.
And Second City will gladly sign you up for a corporate session. We've had
Yes.
We've had them at our innovation festival before and to do a little session with some of the corporate folks who show up to that.
I
It's
think
great.
the NFL has like a reality show. I just saw the clips on TikTok, but they brought in an improv coach to play improv games with the players, and they had so much fun.
Yeah.
They were eating it up.
God, I would just love to see whatever improv nerd they sent. Like, just imagine former improv teacher Brennan Lee Mulligan with a bunch of NFL guys.
It would be amazing. They were playing the like elephant palm tree, you know, that game?
Yeah.
They were playing that one.
All right, let's go to lesson number 2.
Okay, be smart with your luck. So I kind of like previewed this in my first learning point, but you got to be lucky, or sometimes you are lucky in your career, like right place, right time. Like I moved to Los Angeles in 2015, kind of when like the transition to video first and YouTube first really became a thing. So it was hustling, bustling. And so whether it's a role or a piece of content that blew up all of a sudden, like luck is uncontrollable. It just kind of like the stars align. But once luck is presented to you, what are you doing with that luck to take that like strategic step forward? And so being smart with your luck, strategizing. If I found myself in a building like now, rest in peace, Defy Media, which was a multi-channel network back in the day that had a lot of YouTube shows under the umbrella. I was in the morning hosting and producing and writing for Clever News, and then the afternoon producing for Smosh. So I really took advantage of the place that I was in to be able to like learn new skills, to learn how to make different types of content. And I think what I learned there really helped me for my career going forward. I was smart with the luck that I was presented.
Can you talk about like a more recent example, maybe at Duolingo?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I will think of, I'll jump to Crocs, actually. Yeah. So Crocs had been a company I was eyeing for years. They're a Colorado-based company. I grew up in Wyoming, kind of nearby there. But I always thought, like, there's so much unlocked potential with this, like, meme shoe.
Yeah.
And so I think my luck really turned when they were looking to elevate the social team outside of, like, maybe an intern-run team.
Yeah.
And I was looking to go into brand marketing. And in 2021, Crocs was really blowing up. So I felt like in that moment, the stars really aligned, that I got to jump onto this moving ship and really bring my creativity and create really, really crazy work there.
Yeah, Crocs is such an interesting example because they very much went from like a shoe that I think was almost exclusively for chefs and sort of
kids,
and kids, and became this trendy, interesting, like ugly is beautiful shoe. And there's so many memes of like, put your Crocs in sports mode, and then the gibbets and marketing. So there was just so much opportunity there to do fun things on social.
Yeah. And the collaborations too. Like Terrence Riley was really, he went to Stanley and now he's back at Crocs. Like he really paved the way for collaborations with like a Post Malone and Justin Bieber, which also made it more, and Balenciaga, which made it more culturally relevant at the time. But COVID, like we'll talk about soon, like, you know, in COVID, everyone wanted to be more comfortable. So, you know, comfier pants, comfier shirt, comfier shoes. They didn't necessarily have to be so pretty. And I think that really benefited, like everyone really embracing their most comfortable self.
Yeah, I know some of the athleisure brands really kind of took advantage of that moment as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to lesson number 3.
Yes. Lesson number 3, human first. Like, be genuinely interested in people. They are your audience. I love people. I love finding out what makes them tick, what gets them excited. Like, when I was on the dating apps so many years ago, I'd be like, I just want to know why an engineer became an engineer. That's the extrovert in me. But if you're creating media, it's really, really important to be interested in humans and hear what they have to say, but also respect the audience. I think I learned this lesson in the inverse. I saw coworkers and leaders that didn't respect the audience and didn't really like to get to know what makes humans tick, what makes them laugh. And so I really noticed a difference in storytelling and quality when you don't respect the audience, and you have to respect the audience.
Do you remember the first time you kind of realized this?
Yes, it was my first TV job. Yeah, I helped create a TV show called The List TV, which was like a syndicated show. It was, I call it like a trending show for moms. So we would list the top stories of the day and give them a rundown. My first segment was about Gangnam Style. And that's what influenced the format of the entire show for 13 years. And I just noticed some of my co-producers did not respect that audience, that trendy mom that wanted to have snackable information at the end of the day. maybe when she came back from work. So I noticed the big difference in their approach to creating content and then my approach, which I respected the audience. I wanted to teach them something new and make it optimistic and fun and smart. And so, yeah, that's kind of like how I learned it. Was my first TV job.
Yeah, I see this a lot. I mean, anyone who watches this show knows I'm a theater kid and was in theater before I got into journalism. And I think this is like a huge pitfall that I always see with theater companies and with like theater producers is it's the trappings of thinking that you're doing art when you're doing entertainment.
Yes.
And you can do both. And even when you're doing art, high art, it still has to be for someone.
Exactly.
And if you just don't respect your audience, it's a huge issue. Like, I know this theater company, I'm not going to dox where this theater company is, but it's not in like a arts hub. It's in like a rural community in New England that it's not much of a tourist crowd that comes there. It's people who like go to the theater as a hobby or as a release or as a side. And just like the theater is like kind of dying because the people who run it just do not respect that audience is there and what they want. And it's not that they want to go and just see like slop, like meaningless entertainment.
Yeah.
Like, let's just do Cats all the time because these idiots are going to do it. But they also don't want to necessarily go and see some like heady new work. It's just not what they're interested in. They want to see good shows that are entertaining and to sometimes make them think, but like they've told you over and over again what they want. And you keep being like, I don't know why we did this Sarah Rule play and it's not selling out. It's like, 'cause they don't want to see this.
There's a little bit of like meeting the audience where they are. And I think it goes in the inverse. It's like maybe they were too heady, but like you said too, like giving slop to that audience is not delicious either.
No.
So you have to understand when you're creating media, you are trying to meet the audience where they are and then show them the razzle dazzle.
Yeah, exactly. And like if you want to be like, I want to take a chance and this is something that I really care about and I think this audience, if we get them to come to see it, will care about it too.
Yeah.
That's a different approach to things where you're taking risk and not knowing if it's going to pay off.
100%.
If that's the thing, but instead of being like, I'm going to educate these rubes about what real and good theater is, like you're going to fail every time because no one wants to be condescended to when they've paid a lot of money to go see something with, you know, what little time they have because we all have to work 1 billion hours to afford our lives right now. It's a really like terrible approach. And I think you see that with brands all the time as well.
So yeah, that's why I think it's really like bringing it back to being human first. It's like, and what's the message that I want to send out there and what is the audience like excited about?
Yeah, it's the reason why like kids love show and tell. They don't love lectures in school.
I love that.
All right, what's lesson number 4?
I try to like really market lesson 4. So aura maxing.
We're here for the kids.
Aura maxing, like knowing your aura will unlock a lot. So it's like, I think I get really overwhelmed with like, what is your life purpose? Like that seems so heavy. And like for a long time,
it was
like,
your life purpose?
Change the world. Like that is so big to me. But I'm like, what's the aura I want to give off? And like, what are the opportunities and spaces that I can be to like push that aura?
This is the most LA you've ever sounded.
Yeah, I'm very, I lived in LA for 6.5 years. I'm a little woo-woo. I love woo-woo. And so like with aura maxing, it's like I've always really been optimistic and fun and funny and also sharp. I want some wit to everything I do. So that's always been like the through line through my jobs, through my content, through everything. And so I think that's a good point where I'm like, does this feel genuine to me or not? Or like ladder up to my purpose. I do heavy quotes, purpose. But I think it's like finding out your aura is probably a lot easier than like finding your life purpose.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like go with the flow and figure out what hits and what doesn't hit.
This is very like new age, not new age. This is kind of like new generation Simon Sinek, Find Your Why, which always felt so serious and stuff. This is like a little chiller, like, okay, what aura do you want to give off? We don't need to find our big why all the time. You just need to find what you want to do right now.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be like in numbers. I don't have to be like changing the entire world because that is a lot and that's a big mountain to climb. But even in the like smaller things to get like a little more woo-woo, it's like, oh, I made someone someone feel seen. I made someone learn something new. I made them chuckle. Like, to me, that's just a reinforcement of like my aura and what I'm doing here.
Yeah. What speaks to you? Like, what do you watch that you're like, oh, wish I made that? Or like, oh, I could never make that. I appreciate that so much.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think like things that I'm watching and I'm loving, like Sinners, that like is so not my genre. I don't like gore. I like dark romance, but that's not dark romance. And like,
you're not a horror fan?
I'm not a horror fan at all. I'm
horror.
like, I like cute Halloween. Like, that's what I like.
A little spoopy.
Yeah, I like, it's like, oh, I get to wear a little outfit and there's black cats. And Sinners just like is my top 3 movies of all time. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I just saw a trailer for it. Like, Love on the Spectrum is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I am really someone that like, I love fun. I love comedy, but I also really love the heartfelt stuff. I like stuff that has that like grounding force where it tells a universal truth that really gets to the heart of things.
I'm just like, I'm such a sucker for a dramedy, like something that
Me
like
too,
hard
dude.
turns. Like, I think like,
I mean, on my like dream list would be to like write a dark romantic comedy, kind of that dramedy.
Yeah.
Like that is on my like career bucket list of what's next is I would love to create something like that.
All right, let's go to lesson number 5.
Okay, lesson number 5, I think is very, I just need to say it, but it's be nice to work with.
Yeah.
The industry is so small. And then when you get to like the subsets of industry, even smaller.
Yeah.
And it's important to be nice to work with. And that's different than being easy to work with or something like that. But being a nice person is so valuable.
Yeah.
Being respectful, being professional. And you never know who's in the room now that could be in a future room. So I think it's really important to just be nice to everyone that you work with. And look, I'm horrible at names. I maybe won't remember your name, but I'll remember your aura, and I hope you remember mine. And I think that's like a big testament to just being respectful, professional, nice to work with.
It sounds so simple, but like there's lots of talented people.
Yes.
There's lots of talented people who are assholes, and there's lots of talented people who are nice. When given the choice between a talented asshole and a talented nice person, why would you make any other choice? It just doesn't make any sense on any level. And it's never an ultimatum. It's almost never, well, this person's qualified and talented but an asshole, but this other person's really nice, but they're just not super skilled.
Yeah.
There's always a choice.
Yeah,
Like there's not like enough. There's so many talented and interesting people in the world. Like there's no reason why you have to hire the asshole. I'm thinking particularly in like movies or television, you always think about like, oh, they're a genius, but they're super hard to work with. I'm like, then they're not a genius because a genius would figure out how to be nice and talented.
Agreed. And look, like it could even be the inverse if I'm not a hiring manager, but I'm trying to find work somewhere else.
Yeah.
There is a list of people that I will never work with again. And there is a list of many people that I would love to work with again.
Yeah. Let's put this in the context of putting a campaign together or building a brand when you're doing stuff front-facing. Like, how does this actually play out for the benefit in, at a Duolingo, at a Crocs, at a Smosh? I think Smosh especially is a good example of this, given their mission.
Your network, it can be really powerful, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, when I'm going into projects or creating content, I'm not a solo person. Like, I may need to hire an editor. I may need to hire a producer. I need to hire even on-camera talent. And so I'm going to be thinking of the people that I have a fun, collaborative conversation and relationship with. And so those are the people that I'm going to put on speed dial. And if someone's like a little difficult or not nice to work with, like those people are not going to be on my like speed dial.
Yeah. Final question to wrap this all up, separate and apart from all of your lessons. What is one thing that has surprised you the most in your career?
Ooh, one thing that surprised me the most in my career. I think maybe not surprise, but like a revelation I came to recently now that I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm the boss era and doing my own thing, is that there isn't a moment that I'm like on top of the mountain and have that like Oscar in my hand where I'm like, I've made it, I'm done with my career, the rest, I'm smooth sailing, everything like that. To me, I always felt like there was going to be a moment in my career where I felt like I was at the pinnacle, like I was at the top. Rocky, like I won the fight. And the reality is like the dream is very much true. I feel like I'm living my dream every single day, even if I don't know what I'm going to do a month from now. But the dream really comes in like microdose moments.
Yeah.
My LA coming out again. But I'm microdosing on the dream whenever I'm at a job or doing something or like meet a celebrity or like meet someone I super respect in the industry where I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I get to a point where I'm directing Tony the Tiger in a mascot outfit? How did I get to the point where I'm like speaking on this stage? Or how did I get to the point where I'm visiting Smosh as a guest and I was so integral in like, we didn't know if it was going to survive another year.
Yeah.
And so those little microdose moments of like, oh my God, how did I get here? This is real life is actually the dream. So I'm getting a lot of people at networking events being like, what's your dream come true? And it's like, yeah, I would love to make a dark romance rom-com and those kind of things. But for me, I just want to keep microdosing. How did I get here? And to me, that's like affirmations that my dreams are. I'm still living the dream.
Yeah, I mean, I keep going back to like the theater industry and where I'm there. I know so many people that are just like, once I make it to Broadway. But the problem is like so many people do make it to Broadway and they book that show and they run that show and then that show closes. And I've seen so many people then just be like, I'll never work again.
Exactly.
Every time a job ends, it's like, okay, you got the job, you got the dream. What's the next one? Or sometimes redefining like what your dream is. Like my wife, Liz, was, she was an actor when she first moved to the city in her 20s. And she was like, Broadway or bust sort of person.
Yeah.
And she did a lot of cool gigs and did a lot of acting. And then she was like, this isn't enough for me. And then she started her own company and she's doing phenomenally well. But like she's like constantly talking through the same thing. Like, how do I like take the wins and the little microdosing when I get it and then keep going? Because it's a lot of hard work and then you have those moments. But there's no like
relief moment where you're like,
moment.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Now the people will carry me from place to place. Like that just doesn't work.
That's true. Although, if people want to carry me from place to place.
You're going to Wall-E it? You want to Wall-E
it? This is why autonomous vehicles need to scale.
No. Keep walking, folks.
All right, that's a great place to end it. Sarah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're back with Lilly, and it's time to wrap up the show with Keeping Tabs. This is where each one of us shares a story, trend, or piece of pop culture we're following right now, business or otherwise. So, Lilly, since you're our guest, what are you keeping tabs on?
I'm keeping tabs on Love is Blind.
Yes, I just watched the reunion last night.
Did you?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, I can't wait for your thoughts because my thoughts are that I think we've figured out whether or not love is blind at this point, and it's not.
It's not.
It's not? Oh, I
Especially
thought
when you put it on reality television?
Honestly, it's not the Love is Blind part of that show that freaks me out. It's the love is in 10 days or less you decide to marry someone.
Fair. Very
That's
fair
insane.
as well.
Okay, so you think it's jumped the shark, Love is Blind.
Yeah, I think it's jumped the shark. I mean, the original premise really is like, here's an alternative to dating. Is this like a better option for everyone who's struggling out there? Is the answer that like not seeing someone and getting to know them on a deep personal level first is going to kind of solve those long-standing challenges everyone has of meeting someone on a real level and all of that? And I think what we found based off of the past 10 seasons is no. I mean,
I agree.
So I went back and looked at, how many couples are still together from the first 10 seasons. And it looks like, according to the Netflix website anyway, 8 couples are still together. 42 are not together. So that's about
16% success rate.
Oh my God, that's incredible mental math.
Oh, and that's just out of couples that made it to the
marriage?
altar, or made it to engagement, right?
Okay.
No, this is after. So this is even if they got married on the show.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and normal marriage divorce rates is around 50%.
Right.
So this isn't very good.
It's very below average.
84% divorce rate. That's
Yeah.
great. And that's just not even taking into account the couples that don't make it to the altar and break up beforehand, or just the whole experiment. 8 out of 10 seasons.
The
is
whole
crazy.
experiment. So, yeah, whether or not they got married or not, who's still together out of all the cast members on the show, and it's 8 couples. So out of 42. So not really that great. And now it seems like it really is capitalizing on the drama related to the show, which of course, you know, so like what seems to be the drawing interest point now is like, how did these things blow up?
Yeah.
And like, who is revealed to be, you know, a monster that seems like they're going to be a good guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so kind of like leaning into those drama points rather than the premise of the show, which is originally, I think, what made it compelling many, many moons ago.
Well, yeah, like this season, Vic and Christine were the one couple that got married out of the group. Well, the one couple that's still together that got married from this season. And they didn't even send them to Cabo or wherever they send them for Mexico because they're like, they're too boring because they just like each other.
Yeah, that happened in the last season too. A few engaged couples just kind of got like written out of the show. I think it's just with the rise of social media. I've even noticed this with like the Bachelor franchise. It just turns into like an influencer factory because there is some instant clout and following that you get. So it's like, I'm looking for love on reality television to now I'm hosting a podcast pipeline is very common. And I think
I'm trying to do the reverse.
Yeah. It's like Nick
Podcast
Vale,
realities.
also like Bachelor alum. So I think I'd be scared to go on a reality show looking for actual love. But I think most of these maybe toxic people that are on these shows just want the clout. So maybe they can go back to their hometown and be, you know, hosting a DJ party at a cool bar venue and meeting people. That's just an assumption.
Well, that's my
But that's
favorite
a good point.
It's my favorite part of this reality, particularly the Bachelor franchise, because like the elephant in the room hanging over this is like people asking like, oh, are you here for the right reasons?
Yes.
This person's not here for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because you're all on a reality television show and everyone there, even if just a little bit, is there for some fame, is there for a little bit of fame. So it's just this elephant in the room that drives people insane on the show. Plus, they're cut off from the whole outside world and have their phones and are being plied with alcohol, allegedly. I have to say that so Rhea, our lawyer, doesn't get mad at me. But it's like my favorite part of the show because you just watch these people drive themselves insane because they're like, I don't know if they're here for the right reason. Do they really love me for me? Would this be happening, or would they still be here if we weren't on a reality show? Because the answer is no. Like almost certainly no.
But that's why I like shows like The Traitors or something where Lisa Rinna just comes out and is like, no, the reason I wanted to be the murderer that night is because I like attention and I loved my outfit.
Although people now are like, oh, The Traitors, should we ban housewives from The Traitors?
Well, they're doing a normie people season coming up.
They're doing a normie people
really?
season,
Yeah.
which I get, and like I'm for that because like that's what Survivor and that's what those gamer shows are. But like, listen. There's nothing more boring than watching the gamers play the shows. Like, I think it has to be either normies or big personality Real Housewives people, because there's no one more boring than the gamers.
Yeah, the
usually on
gamers are
Traitors.
always so calm and collected. It's
Yeah,
like,
because
that's not what we're doing here.
We're doing strategy here, but they also don't really have a lot at stake besides winning, so it's not really driving like people crazy. When you have normies on the season, like they really need the money.
Yeah, and they try, and they do a little more strategy than like putting on a show.
Yeah, and like you don't know who they are beforehand, so like you don't know like the turns and how people, like the people who become like really like backstabbers and stuff like that. That's more interesting. But like Rob Sesternino, I could give 2 fucks about him on The Traitors. Give me more drag queens and housewives.
Yes.
I'm actually behind on Traitors. I have not watched any of it, but everyone is telling me that I need to.
Oh, it's a great
so good.
watch. I'm a big fan. Sarah, what are you keeping tabs on?
Well, the Oscars were just a couple days ago,
I watched
and
it on a plane.
how was that?
It's sad. It was very sad.
Did it heighten the drama for you?
Yeah, I think I lost a lot.
But every time I kind of like try to go to the red carpet coverage that's usually aired on one of the traditional TV stations. So I tuned into ABC, but for all of these award shows, the red carpet coverage that's on traditional TV, it's just so weird. And I don't know if it's old or dusty or if it's always been that way, but the questions always feel super corny where they're like, how do you feel tonight? And the celebrities are even like clocking how weird it is. And it's like, you know, I know Vanity Fair gave the red carpet over to like Gen Z. So there's like Brittany Broski and like Quinn Blackwell and Jake Shane, if I got their names right. But like they did some kind of like online coverage. But I'm thinking for TV streaming, red carpet coverage.
Yeah.
Do we need to do better? Is there a need? Like, what's going on there?
It just seems like an afterthought. And I feel like it's something that I do think it's like the old dusty thing of it where like these networks have been doing the same type of coverage over and over again. So it just becomes the same thing. I also do think that these networks tend to have negotiations with PR people and publicists. And these are all set up ahead of time. And I know from experience, as we all do, those publicists are like, you can't ask this, you can't ask that, you can't ask this. And it's so they're not like, no journalistic integrity, we're going to ask what we want or F off. They're like, no, we just want access. We just want to get these faces on our TV screen, which is, you know, not great.
Well, and they only have the celebrity for maybe 30 seconds. Like, you can tell it's a shuffle through, but I'm like, can we make it a more engaging experience? What if it is kind of like what Jimmy Kimmel does, where it's like doing shots or doing a bit? Or if like this was sponsored by Burger King, is there like a fun little snack station for them to do? I'm just like, give me more moments that could eventually be clippable for social. But trying to ask, what are you wearing? And then the celebrity going, Givenchy. It's just like, I wish I wasn't watching this.
I swear to God, the what are you wearing question needs to be thrown in the dumpster because it's never a fun answer.
And it's all for the marketing and PR, understand, but it's just, I was about to switch to Fortnite for the red carpet coverage because I was so bored and I just wanted to play Fortnite.
I was going to say, what was Fortnite doing for coverage?
Honestly?
Nothing.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, that would have been so fun.
The new skins are just red carpet outfits. I think recently who's done the red carpet coverage the best was Mary Beth Barone at the Golden Globes this year.
Yes, yeah.
I think she did a great job. There was a game to it. It was not serious at all.
Exactly.
Which I just think was just refreshing and interesting and drove a ton of traffic online, like was clippable
100%.
And drove a lot of traffic and really kind of boosted her up. I mean, she's on a pretty big show.
No, but I think that was like her first like kind of mainstream opportunity, at least from what I can clock. And I loved it. Those questions, like, is there anyone you want to apologize here to? Or like her going to Dylan Efron and being like, if you had to fight Frankie Grande, who would win? Like, that's, if you got 30 seconds with a celebrity, do questions like that, not what are you wearing?
Yeah, it was like a little bit of like, it was like Z-Way mixed with Jiminy Glick, and it was kind of fun.
Yeah. And she didn't press anyone. She was like, if they're not going to play, they're not going to play. That's totally fine.
You had a second keeping tabs you wanted.
I did. I kind of teased it earlier, but Fortnite. So I've been taking like a work sabbatical, and I recently got into playing Fortnite. Now, I've always known that Fortnite is this huge billion-dollar game. Does a lot of collabs. You can buy characters that are like big IP. So they do a lot of collabs with like South Park, and they have a Bugs Bunny one coming up. But they just recently raised their prices for V-Bucks, which is the in-game currency, and fans are very unhappy. So you buy money in the game to be able to buy items in the game, and everyone is very, very mad about this.
You gamers have strong feelings about things?
Yes, yeah. And apparently Fortnite has said, and we don't know if it's playful or real, but the price like raise or bump was to help pay the bills. Now, to play Fortnite, it is free. So if you just want to get those like custom in-game things or the new battle pass, which is like the new package when each season comes out. But yeah, they're fired up about this.
Prices are soaring everywhere. Now we're safe.
I know,
shrinkflation. Not even Fortnite.
Affected even Fortnite.
Revoking the de minimis exemption really affected those digital skins.
But I think my argument is, and I'm a new Fortnite fan, but it's like, the game is mostly free to play, so you don't have to get more V-Bucks in the game. Maybe you can't get your in-game Squidward Crocs, which I did get gifted, and I do wear with my K-pop demon hunter skin, but I think it's okay that you don't spend V-Bucks in the game that's already making billions of dollars a year.
Yeah, well, they got to pay for their ongoing lawsuit against Apple with I think it's the App Store thing, Epic.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
The Epic CEO has it out for Apple. He's really pushing those antitrust cases and stuff like that. So my keeping tabs is all I can think about is South by Southwest since I just got back at 3 a.m. in the morning, early Monday morning, which was not great. So that's what's on my head right now. So Austin is such a weird city, and the convention center is shut down, which is where South by Southwest usually takes sense. So it was even more congested and sprawled out in the city center. And it's I enjoy a lot of the stuff. There were some cool events that you get to go to. Also, if you play your cards right, you can just live off of finger food through the entire week.
A scavenger.
But man, that city needs to figure out their construction situation, particularly with this big festival every year, because between the convention center, all the other street construction and stuff going up around it, I feel like they're just in such a growth at all costs mindset in Austin, which makes sense with the tech scene there.
Yeah.
That they're just we got to keep building. We got to redo the convention center. And they tore the old convention center to the ground and are rebuilding it. And it wasn't that old of a convention center. It was fine. The convention center was fine.
I don't remember it being particularly dusty crusty.
No. It was fine. They could have just renovated it. But then just nope. Down to the ground.
Well, and they didn't know that South by would be there every year.
Yeah. Anyways, I just want the city of Austin to get their shit together a little bit for next year's South by. The convention center is not going to be done for years and years and years. So it's going to be a mess.
Well, you said Austin is weird, and that's kind of their whole thing. So maybe it's just a part of their charm.
Yeah, but also Austin's not that, it's weird in that sense. In terms of a culture, it's really not that weird. It's just a bunch of tech guys who like to go to Burning Man, but you're just kind of a normie simp. And
comment.
Yeah,
spicy.
I'm coming out.
Josh
I'm coming out hard for it.
3 a.m. land at the airport. He's ready.
But then there's just some old people who moved from Brooklyn to Austin.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It kind of reminds me of Providence where I grew up, but then a little bigger and plopped into Texas. And so, yeah. Anyways, Austin, you're fine, I guess. It's all right. Oh, I remembered what else I was going to talk about. It was Oscars related.
Okay.
Timothy Chalamet did not deserve the Oscars, so don't get me in here. Good for Michael B. Jordan.
I know, you went so hard on him a couple weeks ago, and I
did.
loved it.
Timothy Chalamet is a great movie star and a mediocre actor.
You heard it here first.
Now that is keeping tabs.
I just love Sinners so much. So
Sinners was great. I love Sinners. I loved Hamnet.
Michael B. Jordan twice. He's the Michael Jordan of acting now.
Yeah.
I had to do the joke.
And that's a great place to end it. Lily, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
And Sarah, thank you so much for guest hosting this week.
This was so fun. Thank you.
Our show is produced by Blake Odom, Sam Gebauer, Hawa Atori, and Mariam Kiparuidze. Editing by Matt Toder. Mix and sound design by Tad Wadhams and Nicholas Torres. And our executive producer is me. Remember again to subscribe, rate, and review, and we will see you next week.